Hi, I'm Janet Raftis, Master Energy Healer and Intuitive Development Teacher. And almost every Tuesday at 5:15, I'm here doing a Facebook Live on my business page, answering questions and talking about things that are relevant to empaths, sensitive people, intuitives. And so today I wanted to address something that I hear a lot from people who are just sort of awakening in a way or just coming into their intuitive gifts, and that is, am I crazy? I hear that question actually a lot in my practice, and I think it's really relevant, and also the topic works really well too with, am I hearing my ego or am I hearing spirit? So essentially, when we start connecting with spirit or when we start to receive messages from spirit, if it's something that is maybe new to us, it's not something that we've been experiencing our entire lives, then it might seem like it is coming out of left field. And recently, in the last, I don't know, maybe I've noticed a huge upswing in the last 3, 4, 5 years, where a lot of people are coming into their intuitive powers. And as more and more people raise their own consciousness and awareness and intuition on the planet, then that sends out, everybody contributes to this sort of wave that helps to activate and open up other people. So it's like a bunch of lights starting to go off. And with that, a lot of people they're in situations where maybe this is not something that's talked about very often. So one of the things that I like to do is just to let people know, like, you're not crazy. There are other people who are going through this as well. And a lot of times even starting to name the process, or a name like you're an empath or you're sensitive or that is a spirit guide, can be hugely comforting to people. So when I wanted to talk a little bit in this about what it's like when spirit talks to you, and then that is why, I brought up this question of, is it my ego or is it spirit? Because it both falls into the same category. It's very similar. So as far as, am I crazy? I hope that made sense. But when spirit talks to you, it is a very quick sort of input of information, whether that comes auditorily, you hear something, or you see something, or you feel something. A lot of times it comes out of nowhere. It can come when we are doing something very rote or mechanical, like washing the dishes or driving or taking a shower, because we are sort of in this almost hypnotic state when we're doing things that are very mechanical, and it's really easy for the information to come in those moments. And when the information comes in, what is important to know is that if it is spirit, if it's one of your guides, or it's spirit, or it's an angel, it will be a very crisp and clean, energetically clean message. And also it would normally be something that you might not say to yourself. So the ego mind will say a lot of things to you. It will analyze things. It will criticize things. It will try to look for validation for things. It will try to explain things. And the intuitive mind doesn't do this. Now, what can happen and where things can get a little sticky sometimes is that you'll get an intuitive hit. It'll come in and say the intuitive hit is, call your friend Jessica right now. And you're like, why would I call Jessica? I haven't talked to Jessica in years, and we haven't, And it's like, so immediately you get the hit, call your friend Jessica. Like, whoa. But then you start to analyze it, right? Well, I don't want to call Jessica. She was mean the last time I talked to her. Right? And that is where it starts to go. And what happens is, because we're more accustomed to that voice than the other voice, we will have a tendency to listen to that voice. We'll have a tendency to listen to the voice that is trying to analyze and judge and protect us and create a defense around us. But if we can start to separate and pay attention, well, why did that come into my mind? Why did I think, call Jessica? Where did that come from? How did it feel? Like, it came out of nowhere because you haven't thought about your friend Jessica in a long time. And out of nowhere, it dropped in. And so you might just go back to that and go, you know what, I don't know why, but I'm going to call Jessica. And then you call Jessica and she apologizes to you, or she wants to share something with you that's really important and vital. So, if we can go back and we can catch that before the dialogue starts, before the ego starts, then we can really sort of mine it for the goal that it is, because it has something to share with us. It's really learning to distinguish those. So as you are in your wake-up process, or as you're in the process of trying to, when we first start working with our intuition, it is really difficult to discern a lot of times between what is spirit and what is my ego and what is my fear and what is my defense. As you're in this process, it's really important to really pay attention, because intuition is subtle energy. It's very, very subtle. And so it is this process of going back and looking at it again. How did it feel when it first came to me? You know, a lot of people, when they have these awakenings, and then I ask them, well, what are the voices saying to you? And they start to tell me what the voices are saying to them. They're usually very, very beautiful messages. They're messages like, you are loved, you are cared for, your mom is thinking about you, you know, if she's passed on. They're very healing messages a lot of the time. And so, and that's typically not what we say to ourselves, right? Usually it's not what we would say to ourselves, or if we're saying it, even if we're saying like, I love myself, I'm awesome, right? It's usually, it will come in a different tone than what you are accustomed to hearing or listening to. Now that also goes for anything visual that you might get. So if you are a visual person, this could go in a couple different ways. So if you see something and it just kind of shows up and it is like a flash, and you see it and it's just there, like you see a flash of light and you're like, oh my God, that was an angel. Like you have this knowingness that what you just saw was an angel, right? And it comes in and it's there and it's gone, right? That's your intuition. If you are somebody who's very imaginative and is like thinking about angels and is really like, I'm thinking about angels, and I'm like, and you're trying to conjure an angel in your mind, then that might be your mind working. Your ego mind is going to stretch and play and try to manipulate the energy. Now, that's not to say that if you're holding an intention to see an angel, even if your mind is trying to make it happen, you might actually ultimately see an angel, because if you ask, they'll come. But I'm just trying to make this difference between the way the mind will try to wrap itself around something, whether that's visual or auditory or a sensation too. We could be like with a sense, so is it clairsentience, which is a psychic feeling, or is it really that something doesn't feel, or that you're making something not feel right? So let's say you and your boyfriend broke up, and you have to go pick up your stuff from your house, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I don't want to go there, and I'm feeling so sick, and this and that, and blah, 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 and you're talking yourself into feeling sick so that you don't have to go over there. That's one thing. But if you are going to go pick up stuff from your boyfriend's house, and all of a sudden you get struck by just like a heaviness, right? And then you're like, whoa, where did that come from? Then that could be connected to a psychic feeling about the house. It could be connected to, it doesn't feel good for me over there. Oh, you're welcome, Donna, thank you. It was an awesome session. It could be connected to like the feeling of heaviness that you experienced over there, or the arguing that you had when you were over there. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and feel free to put them in the comments, because I know that this can be a little bit confusing, and this topic usually does bring up a lot of questions. I think the most important point is to know that intuition is always quick, it's always clean, and it typically comes out of nowhere. Now, even if you're doing, let's say you're doing a reading for someone, let's say you're a little further along in your intuitive development. And this was true for me when I first started doing readings, or when information first started really coming through for me. I did a lot of personal fact checking, because I would be doing a healing, let's say, because I started getting a lot of information initially through readings before I started doing, psychic readings. And I would be doing the healing, and I would start to see things, and usually it would be like an image or a song lyric or something would come out of nowhere. And I would feel like, okay, that feels like my intuition. And then sometimes I would notice that I would try to make something out of it, and I would have to stop, right? Like something would come in, and then so say it's a song lyric. A song lyric comes in, and then I might, in the past, what I would do is I would try to think, well, what could that mean? And then perhaps start to try to ascribe a meaning to it. And then I would have to stop, right? And go, wait a minute. I need to separate what's intuitive from what I'm trying to get out of it, right? The interpretation I'm trying to get out of it. That's not to say you'll never interpret information, but when you start to try to mold it or make it understandable to you. So it's really important in your intuition to notice that when the song lyric came in, like that is the message right there. Like that, from the beginning of the lyric to the end of the lyric, that's the message. And then when you're talking to the person, you would say, I heard the song lyric, what did it mean to you? Does that mean anything to you? And let the person tell you what it means. Does that make sense? So again, always, an intuitive hit is always clean. Now, when you're first going through your wake-up process, and you might be starting to see things, you might be starting to feel things, it might be like really crazy and really intense. What you will want to do and keep coming back to is, does this feel real to me? Oh, and for the fact-checking part is you can ask Spirit, like, is this true? And then you can use your body to give you that barometer of truth. Does it feel right? Does the information feel true? And if it doesn't, then no, you need to separate or put it aside, or go back to just the initial hit that came in, and then ask the person just about that. Now, if you start to get barraged with information and you're in that place where like, am I psychic or am I insane? I'm seeing all these things. What you can do is you can ask yourself, like, is what I'm feeling, does it feel good? Does it feel true? Is it something that is uplifting? When Spirit speaks with you, the messages will be uplifting. The messages will feel good. Now, there are times, if you're psychic or intuitive, where you may see or experience things that don't feel good. If you are, let's say you walk into a place where there's some really heavy or hard energy, it doesn't mean that you're not psychic, because it doesn't feel good, right? So I want to make the distinction. If you walk in and you're like, oh my God, what's that? And you feel it and it hits you, then you're psychic, right? So I want to make a little bit of a distinction with that. And I also just want to say that if you are seeing a lot of scary things, then it would be really helpful for you to reach out to somebody so that you can get some support around creating energetic boundaries and working with your intuition in a way that feels good and uplifting to you, because you'll want to be able to manage that for yourself. But regardless, when you're hearing messages in your head, when you're getting messages from guides and angels, if it's guides, angels, if it's Spirit, right, they will be messages that feel uplifting and loving to you. And also I would just suggest too, if it's overwhelming you, because a lot of what happens when you wake up and a lot of that feeling of like craziness comes from being really overwhelmed by all of the sensations. Sometimes it comes from being really when your sensitivities blow open, everything tends to go up into the upper chakras, and things can become, even the sensations of the world can become more intense. So it can be helpful in that case to reach out to somebody who can help you and support you in understanding how to work with that. So with that, I hope that was understandable and clear, and I would love to answer any questions that any of you might have on the topic. I see. Hi, Tina. Hi, NASA. Hi, Emily. Thank you all so much for joining. I will just say, too, that if you are opening up and this is even a question that you're having, then that is amazing and it's beautiful, and I am so grateful, because being sensitive is truly a precious gift. Just that initially sometimes it can be really freaky. Also, there is one of my friends, Jonas Elrod, had a very sudden awakening several years ago, and he made a movie about it called Wake Up. And I often recommend that to people who are going through like an initial wake up, because it shows him in the early stages of going, what is going on, and he goes to some doctors and he goes to different healers and shamans and tries different things and gets different information to try to explain it. And so I think it can be a good starting point as well for somebody if you are feeling like, I don't know what's going on and this is really intense. It can help you to not feel alone. So know too that you're not alone, and that there are others like you, and that we're here. So unless y'all have any questions, I will leave that for now. If you know somebody who you think could benefit from listening to this, I would love for you to share that with them. And if you think of any questions later, or you want to share anything, like if you've had an experience that you want to share or want any feedback on, feel free to put that into the comment section, and I would be happy to answer it. And as always, if you have any questions that you want answered, feel free to email those to me, janet@janetraftis.com, and I will address them here. So I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I will see you then. Thank you, Lauren. I appreciate it. Y'all take care. Bye.